Archaeologists and Egyptologists like myself believe that the Sphinx was sculpted around 2500 BC by King Khephren as a part of his funerary complex. But a lot of scholars disagree about the Sphinx, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding when was the Sphinx actually sculpted.
One of the most important documents we have to do with the dating of the Sphinx is the inventory stela. This is a commemorative stone that actually records details of how the pharaoh Khufu repaired the Sphinx after it was struck by lightning. The significance of this is that Khufu came before Khafre, the pharaoh who is conventionally said to have constructed the Sphinx.
The inventory stela has an inscription that goes back to about 4,600 years ago. And that inscription says that the Sphinx is a much older structure that the Egyptians adopted and repaired and venerated.
Based on the inscriptions on the inventory stela, there are some archaeologists who believe that the Sphinx is so ancient, could predate any records in human history that are known to exist. And some researchers are convinced that physical evidence of the Sphinx's true age can be found on the structure itself.
The first time I visited the Sphinx was in the summer of 1990. My early studies of the Sphinx looked at the erosional features on the body of the Sphinx and comparing that to other erosional features right on the Giza Plateau. And what I found was the body of the Sphinx and the walls of the Sphinx enclosure are weathered differently than everything else on the Giza Plateau. The rest of the plateau shows classic wind erosion, but what is on the Sphinx is water weathering. It's rainfall, precipitation, and this makes no sense when the Sphinx is sitting on the edge of the Sahara Desert that has been a bone-dry desert for literally thousands of years. So what I concluded is that the body of the Sphinx, and therefore the original statue, had to go back to pre-Sahara times, when there was a much more temperate climate, much more moisture, much more rainfall, and it has to go back not just a little bit into that period, but quite far back, given that we have incredible amount of weathering and erosion on the Sphinx. I now think that it goes back to the end of the last ice age, circa 10,000 BC. I am convinced that it is a ruin from pre-dynastic Egypt.
One exciting possibility that has been suggested is that the original letters written by Jesus' apostle Paul could have been kept within the library of Villa de Papyri.
The Villa of the Papyri was entombed about 40 to 50 years after the death of Jesus. At this time, the original apostles are now out doing their mission work in various parts of the Mediterranean. So it's entirely likely that the Villa of the Papyri could have a collection of copies of Paul's letters.
If the letters from the Apostle Paul circulated and found its way into the collection, such a discovery would represent the earliest Christian material that we have, almost dating back to the time of Christ and the disciples.